Last week we looked at the book Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. We're going to briefly revisit this book this week and focus on how Max transformed his bedroom into a wild forest that he disappeared into. Let's take a look at his room. The window's open and you can see the moon shining. All there is a bed, a table and a plant. The rest is walls and doors and floors. But then a transformation begins to unfurl. Trees are growing from the rug and growing tall into the ceiling. Trees are growing from behind the door too. And now the trees are becoming more mature. And now there's shrubs, more leaves. There's even grass growing on the carpet. It's starting to transform into something that is not just his bedroom. It's starting to transform into a whole new world. And look at the moon. It's still shining bright through the window. And now the room's disappeared completely. There's no window framing the moon anymore. It's a wild open space with no walls, no boundaries. A place which is free, and a place where Max makes the rules. His own world. This story reminds me of my own children, and I watch how easy it is for them to transform the boring, everyday things into an exciting new world. Artists spend years studying at art school, trying to learn how to do this. Pablo Picasso once said something like, "It took him a few years to learn to paint like a great master, but it will take him a lifetime to learn to paint again like a child." Children have a purity to their imaginations. You have a view on the world that isn't fixed. So ideas change shape, take on new meanings. Children are also really good at seeing the details that adults often take for granted. And so that helps you to think of things differently. And that's why Max was able to transform his bedroom into a whole new world, because he has the power, just as you have the power to do that. So in this video today, we're going to start off by drawing an object, an everyday object, and paying really close attention to the detail, to the textures, to the shapes, to the lines, to the patterns, just as we did in last week's lesson. And then in the second video, we're going to transform it into something out of this world. Let's go. So for the first activity, you're going to need a felt tip, a black felt tip or a dark colour anyway, and some paper or your sketchbook, and something small to draw, no bigger than a shoe maybe. You're going to make a drawing using one continual line. That means you're not going to take your pen off the paper. You're going to look at your object, and as your eye travels very slowly along the object, let your pen move at the same speed. So whatever you see, you draw. Draw textures, shapes, but keep the pen moving and don't take it off the page. Go over what you've already drawn use different pressures with the pen. Hold the pen in different positions and try to aim for about a 5-minute drawing. Give it a go. If you haven't done it before, it might be a bit challenging at first, but stick with it. This is a really good warm-up exercise, and you can do this anytime. Have fun. And now you're going to draw again, but this time you're not only going to draw from observation, so you're not only going to draw what you see, you're also going to dip into your imagination and start to recreate or reinvent your object into something else. Keep in mind all the wonderful mark making that we learnt last week, and try to incorporate some of that into this drawing. Now to add colour, I'm going to use pastels, chalk pastels, not oil pastels. They're a really strong, vibrant colour, but they'll work over the felt tip. So too will pencil crayons, not as strong a colour, but will work pretty well, and so will wax crayons. So colour in each part of the drawing in whichever colour you wish. Try to stay as neat as you can. And then with pastels, with chalk pastels, you can rub them with a cotton bud. That'll make the texture less grainy and much more smooth. And you can also use one colour on top of another. You can do this with pencil crayons and wax crayons too. With chalk pastels, you can blend them so that you can mix the colours. This colouring technique really does remind me of the pictures in Where the Wild Things Are. Soft, dusty textures. Here I'm using a cotton bud to create swirls. I'm trying to create different textures here. I'm smoothing some areas, and then in other areas I'm making spiral shapes. It's a good idea to experiment with the cotton bud to see what kind of textures and effects you can get. I want some dusty marks now, so I'm using the blackened end of a cotton wool tip to draw with, and now I'm using an eraser to rub out some marks, some highlights.